So today's learning target, we're focusing on the process of solving multi-step equations. So I can solve linear equations with multiple steps using distributive property. So that should kind of be a reminder from last unit where we had to distribute, and from combining like terms before I solve. So again, both of those are terminologies that came from our expressions unit. We're utilizing what we did with expressions and bringing it into equations now, where instead of simplifying it, before we used to simplify it and we might say, okay, our answer is 9x plus 18. Well, that's no longer going to be our answer. We're now going to learn how to solve for what that x value is. Okay, so the whole idea is to simplify into a two-step equation. That's the whole goal. We're just trying to simplify it down into our two-step equations. So the very first step, like always, is to distribute if possible. That's always the first thing that we looked for. Can we distribute in the problem? And remember, if we can distribute, what should we see in the problem? What symbol should be in the problem? Who remembers? Somebody Melanie? What do we look for if we're saying that we can distribute? What is present in this problem that shows us we can distribute? Anybody? Guys, what are these called? Not constant, honey. What are these two little symbols called? Parentheses. You guys act like we haven't seen these before. If there is distributive property, shh, you're getting too talkative now. If there is distributive property, then that means you should see parentheses. You should have a value that's on the outside of the parentheses. So what we can distribute here is this -4. That -4 now acts like it's a -4, and it's going to get multiplied to the 3x, and it's going to get multiplied to that -6, that -6. So we're really doing -4 times 3x, and we're doing -4 times -6. Okay, -4 times 3x is going to give us a -12x. -4 times -6 is going to give us a positive 24. And then that's it. The rest of the problem just comes straight down. So that 9x never got affected, so it comes straight down as 9x. And then all of this right here, this equals -3 plus the 18, that all comes straight down. Okay, so we've done that first step. Remember, first step means that there were parentheses, so you can distribute the outside to the inside. Okay, step 2. Again, this is all simplifying. We're simplifying before we're actually solving. So step 2, we're just going to focus on combining like terms on the left side of the equation if it's possible. So that means left side of the equal sign. I see my equal sign. I'm just going to focus on this left side. So I've got 9x minus 12x plus 24. Can I simplify? Can I combine any like terms here? Yes. What can I combine? What are my like terms here, Asher? 9x minus 12x. Good. I'm so sorry I called you Asher. Ashir. Hey, shush. So 9x minus the 12x, that's going to come out to that -3x. And then plus 24 cannot get combined with it because it is not a like term. The plus 24 is not considered to be a like term. Okay, so we focused on just the left side. Now we're going to go ahead and focus on just the right side. So if the right side happens to have things that we can combine together. So let's take a look at the right side of our equation. The right side was -3 plus 18. negative 3 plus 18. Can I simplify this? Yeah, right? Those are just numbers, aren't they? I can simplify that. What do I get when I do negative 3 plus 18? Aisha? 15. Positive 15, right? So I don't have to put, I can put a plus sign in front of it if I want to. Okay, but I don't have to in this sense because there's nothing else that's on the same side of it. All right, so now what we're going to do is rewrite these with the equal sign. We have our left side, which was negative 3x plus 24. And we're going to set it equal to the right side. This is our right side now. It's equal to 15. And look what we just created. We created a two-step equation. We know how to solve two-step equations. Remember, the first step is always to add or subtract the constant. The first step is always to add or subtract our constant. Which one of these numbers up here on the left side is considered to be the constant? Which one's the constant? Cameron?
24.
The 24. So, and it's a positive 24, right? It says plus 24. So what's the inverse going to be there? Negative or subtract or minus, right? We're creating a 0. We want to create a 0 on this side because we're trying to get x all by itself. In order for x to be by itself, it can't have anything it's added to or subtracted to, and it can't have any coefficient other than a 1. So we're trying to get rid of these numbers that are on the same side as the variable right now. So we've created a 0 here. We can cross those off, but if I do it here, I also have to do it to the 15. I also have to subtract 24 from that 15. Okay, that's going to give me negative 3x is now equal to negative 9. All right, from there, I am now down to a one-step equation, aren't I? Just a one-step. And remember, that last step is to multiply or divide by whatever your coefficient or divisor is. Whatever is paired up with your x, we're going to get rid of it by either multiplying or dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides, not just by 3, because I need to make this a positive. In order to turn a negative into a positive, I need to divide it by another negative. So I want to cancel that negative out. I want to cancel that 3 out. But I have to do it on the other side as well. So I'm going to divide by a negative 3 over here. Okay, so I'm dividing both sides by negative 3, and that gets that x all by itself. And what is negative 9 divided by negative 3? Brian? 3. Positive 3. It's going to come out to a positive 3 now. Okay, so all we have done, we have taken the first 3 steps are just simplifying, kind of like what we did with expressions. The last 2 steps is just solving what we've done for two-step equations or one-step equations. Okay? So what we're going to do today, I'm going to work with you guys on the odd number examples. So that means I'm going to do problem 1, 3, 5, and 7. Then you'll go back and you'll do the even number examples. Okay, let's start with problem 1. First thing I'm going to check, can I distribute? Is there any distributive property in problem number 1? Yes or no? Do you see parentheses? No. We do not see parentheses. So is there distributive property? No. So there is no step 1. Step 1's already done. Step 2. Step 2 says we're going to combine like terms. That's what step 2 and step 3 are. Combine like terms on the left side, combine like terms on the right side. So let's focus on just the left side. The left side says 4n minus 2n. Can I combine like terms here? Yeah, I can. Those are like terms. I can do 4n minus the 2n. What does 4n minus 2n give me? 2n. Okay, what about the right side? Can I simplify this right side? Can I simplify a 4? No, there's nothing to simplify with it. So it's just going to stay equals 4. All right. Step 4 says I'm going to add or subtract the constant. Do I have a constant here with the variable? Is there a plus or a minus with the variable? No. There is no plus or minus with the variable, so we don't have a step 4. So let's go to step 5. Can we multiply or divide here with the variable? Yeah. What can we divide by? 2. We're going to divide both sides by 2. Okay, 2 divided by 2 is going to simplify it out. And what's 4 divided by 2? 2. So that's a nice and easy one, right? We get n is equal to 2. Okay, get that copy down. I'm going to flip it over in about 30 seconds. We're going to flip it to the back. We're going to flip it to the back. I'm going to do problem 3 with you. All right, let's flip it on over. Okay, problem number 3. It says 3 is equal to x plus 3 minus 5x. I don't like how this is set up. Who thinks they can remind me why I don't like the setup of this? Does anybody remember? Why would I say I don't like how this is set up? Diana? What's on the left and should be on the right? The equals part, right? The equal part's on the left and it should be on the right. Variables are on the right. They should be on the left of the equal sign. So I always want to go ahead and take a moment to rewrite in situations where I've got the variables on the right side. I like them on the left side. There's a reason for that. When we get into our next unit, when we get into inequalities, you're always going to want those variables on the left side of your equal sign. So get in the habit of rewriting now. So we're going to have x plus 3 minus 5x equals 3. All I did is I just flip-flopped the sides. That's all I did. Okay? All right, step 1. Step 1 is to look for distributive property. Do we have distributive property here? No, because there's no parentheses. No distributive property, no parentheses. Okay, step 2, can I combine any like terms here? Is there any like terms I can combine? Angel, what can I combine? Very good, x, and then he said negative 5x. Don't forget that that minus sign belongs to the 5x. So we can do 1x, because remember there's always an invisible 1 written there, and we can do minus 5x. We do 1x minus 5x, that gives us negative 4x. Okay, those 3's don't have any like terms to be compared with, so we're going to just put plus 3 and equals 3. All right, we are now down to a 2-step equation. Who can raise their hand and tell me what's the first inverse operation that we're going to do? Guadalupe? And what are we going to subtract from both sides? The 3. We're going to subtract 3 from here. And we're also going to subtract 3 from the other side. Okay, so negative 4x is equal to, what's 3 minus 3? 0. Guys, a lot of people think if they get 0, then they must have done something wrong. Is 0 a number? Yeah. So can 0 be an answer? Yeah. Okay, our last step here, we now need to get x by itself, so we're going to divide. We're going to divide both sides here by negative 4. We're going to divide both sides by negative 4, and that will give us x by itself. X is going to be equal to 0. If we do 0 divided by negative 4, we get 0. Okay, problem 5. Do I like how this is written? Nope. So what am I going to do? Rewrite. I do not like how this is written, so I'm going to rewrite. I'm going to put negative 3 parentheses, x plus 2, close my parentheses, and it equals 6. All right, first thing that I'm going to check, do I have distributive property? Yes, we see parentheses, so we are going to distribute. Remember, distributive property means I take that outside value, that -3, and I multiply it by the x, and I multiply it by the 2. So we're going to do -3 times 1x. That is going to give us -3x. And we're going to do -3 times 2, and that's going to give us -6. And the whole thing is still set equal to 6. Okay, don't forget to copy these down. That way you have examples to look off of for today. All right, it's a two-step equation because we don't have anything that we can combine, do we? We don't have any combining like terms on this side or on the other side. So we can go ahead and start solving. What are we going to do first? Diana? Good, we're going to add 6 to both sides. Okay, those are going to cancel out. That's going to leave us with a -3x is now equal to 12. What's my last step going to be? I can't find it. What's the last step going to be? Divide. Good. We're going to divide both sides by what value? -3. Good. We're going to divide both sides by -3. And what's x going to equal? -4. Good. X will equal -4 for our answer. Okay. Last one, number 7. I'm going to do number 7 with you. When we come back from lunch, you guys will do the rest of them on your own, and then we'll check through them. Okay? Again, for number 7, do I like how it's set up? Nope. So we're going to rewrite. We're going to rewrite. So we're going to put 1/4. Then in parentheses, we're going to have 5x minus 8. And then close the parentheses, and it equals 8. Now, do not be afraid of the fraction. The fraction is just the same. Distributive property means I need to multiply that fraction to each of these values inside. I'm going to do 1/4 times 5/x. I'm going to do 1/4 times -8. It's the same process. You distribute that value. When I do 1/4 times 5/x, I'm just going to get 5/4, and then the x is on the outside. When I do 1/4 times -8, I'm going to get -2. And then the whole thing is set equal to 8. What's my first inverse operation going to be? First inverse operation. Isaiah? Not multiplication. So remember, our first inverse operation is always to add or subtract the constant. So it's addition. Good. Yeah, we're always going to add or subtract our constant. We're going to add 2 to both sides. These 2's are going to get canceled out. That's going to give us 5/4x is now equal to 10. 5/4x. Now remember, that 5/4, that fraction is in front of the variable. So what's the inverse operation going to be? Brian? Divide. Good. So we're going to divide both sides by 5/4. We're going to divide both sides by 5/4. Okay, and that's going to give us x is equal to 8. X is going to be equal to 8. Okay, we're going to line up for lunch, and then we'll come back and we'll finish the rest. Alright, so for problem number 2, the first thing that you guys should have noted is that it needed to have a rewrite. That means that you should have put 2 plus the 5v plus the 2v on the left side, and it should have said equals -12 on the right. You then would combine your like terms because there's no distributive property. So you would have to go to combining like terms, which is a positive 5v plus the 2v. That comes out to a positive 7v. So then we bring down the 2. So it says 2 plus 7v. and we bring down the equals negative 12. From there, we can then solve by subtracting the 2, which is our constant, from both sides. That leaves us with a positive 7v is now equal to a negative 14. We would then go ahead and divide both sides by 7, and we would get v is equal to negative 2. So v equaling negative 2 should have been your final answer for problem number 2. This will all be loaded into Google Classroom, so if you need this still, you can look on Google Classroom later, or I'll just put it back up after we're done going over the rest. Let's take a look at problem number 4. Problem number 4 does not need a rewrite. Number 4 is perfectly fine, does not need to have a rewrite. There is no distributive property, but there are like terms that can be combined. This positive 3 and this negative 3, this minus 3. What's 3 minus 3? 0. So it says plus 0. But if I have x plus 0, what is x plus 0? Let me ask you, what's 3 plus 0? 3. What's 28 plus 0? 28. So what's x plus 0? X. X. It's x. So this plus 0 isn't going to have an effect on it. It's just going to be x. So there you go. We already have x solved. It's already isolated. There is no coefficient other than a positive 1. X equaling negative 6 is your final answer. Okay? For problem number 6. Problem number 6, there is no rewrite, but we do have distributive property. We need to go ahead and multiply negative 3 times 4x and negative 3 times the negative 8. When we do negative 3 times 4x, that's going to give us negative 12x. When we do negative 3 times negative 8, that's going to give us positive 24. And then the whole thing is set equal to negative 36. Then we can start solving because we don't have any like terms that need to be combined together. So we'll just start solving straight away. We're going to subtract 24 from both sides. Those 24s will get canceled out. They're going to zero out. So that's going to leave us with negative 12x is now equal to a negative 60, because negative 36 minus 24 comes out to negative 60. Our last step is then to go ahead and divide. We're going to divide both sides by negative 12. So the negative 12s will cancel out, and the x is going to be equal to a positive 5. Okay, problem number 8 is a little bit more detailed, and that's probably as complex as it's going to get for you guys. You don't need to rewrite. Everything's written on the left side. That's a variable. The right side has only numbers. Okay, we do have distributive property. We're going to do 3 times 4x and 3 times negative 15. I'm going to write that above here, 3 times 4x and then 3 times negative 5. Okay, that's going to give me 12x minus 15. But then we still have this minus 4x plus 1 is equal to negative 6. I do have like terms that need to be combined. That negative 12x, or sorry, that positive 12x and that negative 4x can get rewritten side by side. When I combine that together, it gives me 8x. I also happen to have a negative 15 and a positive 1 that I can write side by side. When I combine those together, I get negative 14. And then the whole thing is still set equal to negative 6. Now we can start solving. I distributed, I combined my like terms. Now I can start to solve. I'm going to add 14 to both sides. Those 14s will get canceled out. The 8x is going to come straight down, and it's going to leave me with a positive 8. Then I can divide both sides by 8. And that will give me x equaling 1. Okay, you have a digital picture assignment that's loaded into Google Classroom. You are allowed to work with a partner. But don't forget, you must show your work because you're going to turn your work in on paper. So you need paper. And you need your pencil.